Is John Cena set to retire for good? But first, an AEW star has been removed from the roster. This week, All Elite Wrestling would update their website to reflect the latest records for their talent, with eagle-eyed fans noticing that one name was removed from the list entirely. Sonny Kiss, who has been with AEW since their first ever show, Double or Nothing 2019, is no longer featured on the official AEW roster page on allelitewrestling.com, leading to speculation on if they are no longer under contract with the promotion. Kiss hasn't worked an AEW match since the closure of AEW Dark, having last teamed with Jeeves K to take on Boulder and Bronson of the Iron Savages, this all the way back in March 2023. Since then, Kiss has worked 4 matches on Ring of Honor television, albeit on the losing side every single time. It should be noted that Kiss is scheduled to be at this weekend's StarCast event in Chicago ahead of the AEW All Out pay-per-view, although the event is held in collaboration with AEW and isn't officially organized by them, meaning this isn't confirmation that Sonny is or isn't still signed with the company, with the event featuring many AEW and non-AEW names. And next, the top AEW merchandise sellers have been revealed. August 2023 would be a huge month for All Elite Wrestling, with them selling 81,000 tickets for All In at Wembley Stadium, breaking the all-time wrestling paid attendance record, an event that also went on to become the company's second best-selling pay-per-view of all time. Whilst many will have you believe that it's all doom and gloom in AEW, there are some positives to reflect on, with one man seemingly leading the charge when it comes to bringing in revenue. According to a fresh report from WrestleNomics, which calculates the estimated items sold on Shop AEW, CM Punk was far and away the top merchandise seller in the month of August, with him doubling the numbers of his closest counterpart. Punk tops the list with a reverse rank value of 6,259, which is then followed by general AEW merchandise in at number 2. MJF and Adam Cole's joint merch then comes in with a 3,080 reverse rank value, followed by Orange Cassidy, CMFTR, MJF, Bullet Club Gold, The Elite, The Acclaimed, and Sky Blue in that order. As for the best-selling singular items, the Bullet Club Gold t-shirt tops the charts, followed by an Orange Cassidy shirt, the Double Clothesline shirt, and the CM Punk Best in the World Classic Ringer tee that was released when he first debuted. Whilst he may be a divisive individual online and inside AEW arenas, CM Punk clearly is still a difference maker when it comes to revenue, with the rankings also justifying AEW's decision to hold off on a possible split between Adam Cole and MJF. And next up, a current WWE champion has reacted to AEW All in London. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins would appear on the WWE After the Bell podcast this week, ahead of his title defense against Shinsuke Nakamura, where he would discuss the current wrestling business and the boom period we are currently experiencing. During the show, Seth would reference AEW's recent Wembley Stadium success, as well as the early ticket sales for WrestleMania 40 across both nights, adding that the future of the industry is bright across the board, and he would say, "We are in the boom. You have to understand there is another company that just put 80,000 people in a stadium for one night. A week before that, we sold 90,000 tickets to WrestleMania, broke the all-time gate on the first day. There are 7-8 different television programs of pro wrestling on a week, not counting premium live events or pay-per-views. The talent across the board is beyond what any generation has ever put forward. It's very easy to look back at the past with rose-colored glasses and say, but this, but that. I'm not taking anything away from those guys who've paved the way. I stand on the shoulders of these guys. I don't do what I do without the legends of our industry that have defined their own generations, but they should be proud, and I know they are, because they are the people who got us to where we are now. The business is bigger than it's ever been. It makes more money than ever. It's healthier. The future of the business is so bright, and I'm so happy to be part of it in any capacity." And next, a former WCW name is set to make their AEW debut. With the short-term future of CM Punk very much up in the air due to his current suspension, there is now a sizable gap in the company, especially in the Chicago market. Recent events are particularly troublesome for the second city, with AEW currently in the midst of a one-week tour of Chicago, with them set to host Collision and All Out at the United Center this weekend, with many fans no doubt having paid to see their hometown hero. As to seemingly make up for the lack of Punk, that's if the suspension remains, All Elite Wrestling have announced that former Chicago Bulls and World Championship Wrestling star Dennis Rodman is scheduled to appear tonight on Collision. The news comes after the Worm's ongoing involvement with this weekend's StarCast event. Whilst there's no word on what his role will be on the show, or if it will set up something for tomorrow's pay-per-view, Rodzilla is set to make his first television wrestling appearance since WCW Road Wild in 1999. During the late 90s and the peak of the Chicago Bulls, Rodman would appear on WCW multiple times, often in allegiance with the NWO and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. With that said, an appearance from the Hulkster is more than unlikely tonight on Collision. Next up, another match has been confirmed for AEW All Out. Speaking of tomorrow night's pay-per-view, last night's episode of AEW Rampage would reveal who will be challenging new ROH World Tag Team Champions MJF and Adam Cole, titles they picked up last weekend on the AEW All in London pre-show prior to their singles match in the main event. Rampage would pit multiple tag teams against each other in a battle royal, with the participants including the most recent former champions Aussie Open, as well as the Hardys, Dark Order, and Best Friends, as well as many more. In the end, it was the Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds that would reign supreme after catching Trent Barretta off guard on the apron, securing themselves a spot on the pay-per-view. Current AEW World Champion MJF has since responded to the new #1 contenders for the ROH tag belts, with him making a Chicago-related joke in the process, and he would say, "These two herbs are about to get double clotheslined harder than a Mack truck. This is going to be like the entire roster of the 96 Bulls versus Newman in Space Jam." And next, a top WWE star came close to retirement. During the pandemic era, LA Knight, then known as Eli Drake, would find himself as a key player in the National Wrestling Alliance. With him then aged 38, the worldwide lockdowns seemingly brought about some doubt as to if his wrestling career was coming closer to its end. Speaking with Interstate 70 Sports Media this week, Knight would reveal that the pandemic almost led to his retirement from wrestling, before he made one last play at getting into WWE, and he would say, "So when I'm 38 and the pandemic's happening, I'm thinking, alright, it's over, and now I gotta figure out what's the next step, what's the next thing that I do, because at this point, the world is falling apart. WWE's not gonna bring me in, especially with my age here." I kinda just took that mindset and said, well, if that's the thought, then screw it. Let's just make one more overture and see what the temperature is. I did that, got that little window of opportunity, I pushed the hell on, and here we are. It's crazy that I even made that move. I didn't think it was a possibility. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did, and I'm glad it did. Next up, a brand new free agent has just hit the market. Last night, former MLW World Tag Team Champion Calvin Tankman would announce that his Major League Wrestling contract has come to an end, with him now seeking opportunities outside of his former employer. He would take to Twitter to confirm the news and wrote, "As of today, I am officially a free agent. I'd like to thank Court Bauer and everyone involved with MLW for giving me an opportunity to learn and grow as a performer over the last 3 years." Over the years, MLW has been the breeding ground for some of the best talents in the business, with the likes of MJF and Matt Riddle gaining valuable television experience with the promotion. It'll be interesting to see where the 28-year-old lands next, and if one of the top American companies pick him up, with him seemingly having a big future ahead of him. And next, a Wyatt family member has spoken for the first time since the passing of Bray Wyatt. It's been more than 1 week since the wrestling world was rocked by the news that Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, had sadly passed away after suffering a heart attack last Thursday afternoon. Whilst we saw him on the tribute episode of SmackDown, Bray's former Wyatt family stablemate Eric Rowan has yet to comment on the situation publicly, with him understandably taking his time. Last night, Rowan would take to Instagram to post an emotional tribute to Wyndham, with him discussing his increasing bond with Bray Wyatt and Brody Lee during their years together on screen in the Wyatt family, and he would say, "Writing this down makes my soul foggy and my heart ache. Over 12 years ago, from the island of FCW, we would talk of our mutual love of horror movies and music before embarking on this crazy journey that brought us around the world with Brody Lee. In the process, something happened. This family we portrayed weekly in the wrestling world became a real-life bond. We spent more time together over the next few years than we would our own families, strengthening our bond as we dealt with life trials and tribulations together." Cena. Eventually, this family grew with the introduction of Braun Strowman, as did our love for one another. Life is sometimes unfair. I want to pick up the phone and talk to my brothers. For when I think of Wyndham, it makes me think of Brody, then the reality of the crazy truth that they are no longer with us. Though I know they are always listening and smiling. With their sudden passings, I cannot state enough how much they loved their families. My heart hurts for their kids, for Jojo, for Amanda, for their brothers and sisters, or anyone lucky enough to call them a friend. I love you both so much. This is only goodbye for now. I will see you down the road. And next is John Cena, set to retire for good. Former 16-time WWE World Champion John Cena would make his much anticipated return to SmackDown last night, with him announcing that he's set to host this weekend's Payback Premium Live event. The Blue Brand appearance is one of many in the weeks ahead, with him scheduled to appear at 6 of the next 7 episodes, excluding next Friday's, which coincides with his appearance at the Superstar Spectacle in India. Following last night's return, the leader of the C Nation would discuss his encounter with Jimmy Uso on the show, before hinting that his last match in a WWE ring could come sooner than we thought, and he would say, "Every single chance I get to go out there becomes more and more special. There's no denying the fact that I'm 46 and staring down 47. I've been here for over 2 decades. As I said out there in the ring, the last one is not tonight, but I know it's soon." To speak candidly, when you're involved in this every day in a full-time capacity, you just think about what's next. The WWE Universe being gracious to invite me and allow me back to be part of this family. For the last 2 or 3 years, I've been able to focus on what's now. I never miss any of those wonderful moments in the ring. I know it may sound repetitive, but so is me saying never give up, and I never mind saying that, so I never mind saying thank you to the people that make this special. Without them and them caring, I don't get to come back. Cena would then joke that his hosting gig at Payback means that will be the only thing he does that night, because hosts never get themselves into trouble at shows, before referencing WrestleMania 27, an event hosted by The Rock, where the People's Champion ended up costing Cena in the show's main event match with The Miz. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 facts that MJF doesn't want you to know.